environmental challenges are one of the biggest existential threats to our way of life.
The Green New Deal is an ambitious plan to make America green, meaning dependent on clean, renewable energy in the coming decades. I'm Justin Worland. I cover energy and climate at Time. To find out more about what a real-world Green New Deal might look like, I traveled to California, which recently enacted Senate Bill 100, or SB 100, with the ambitious goal for the state to use 100% carbon-free electricity by 2045.
What we've done so far in California could be used as a model.
We're really excited to see the discussion around the Green New Deal happening at the national level, but we have been working on this for a long time.
Los Angeles is California's biggest city, famous for its traffic and some of the country's worst pollution. But the city is working to change that, and also transform into a hub for a cleaner, greener future. The Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator, known as LACY, is a prime example.
Let's take that manufacturing legacy that we have in Los Angeles and make LA the Cleantech hub, the zero emissions vehicle hub of the future.
LACY has been the starting ground for a lot of new green tech, like an app that can help you find a charging station for your electric car, and the prototype for an electric plane.
Do you think that we're going to have fully electrified aviation?
In the near term, we're probably going to see limited operations up to, let's say, 300 or 500 miles over the next decade.
Wow.
To understand how the state is paying for programs like the LACY Incubator, you need to go back to 2013, when the state implemented a cap-and-trade law. That program sets a cap on pollution and requires companies to pay if they exceed it.
Environmental goal for the state of California: phase out fossil fuels.
We are acting with urgency, but when we do those things, we have to make sure that we are providing benefits and taking the most vulnerable communities into account and leading with us on that future, on building that future that benefits them.
One of the big questions about the Green New Deal is how to ensure what supporters call a just transition that helps low-income communities and people who are especially vulnerable. To get an idea of what that could look like, we traveled north to Fresno to talk to Tara Lynn Gray,
Hey, good to see you.
who is working with the city to launch a green van pool service that will provide transportation to underserved communities that don't have reliable bus or public transport options.
So how many of these cars will you have going?
So we should have 7 to 9 of these for the van pool. Shall we
Let's go.
roll?
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of the investment in the individual vehicles or the electric vehicle supply equipment. We're talking about investing in our communities. We're talking about creating jobs. We're talking about creating equity, and that's long overdue.
California has also prioritized employment with so-called green jobs for workers whose skills will transform the state and cut its emissions. For example, the state requires that all new homes have net zero emissions by 2020.
When we move towards energy efficiency, you have to put double pane windows, window fenestration. You have to use sensor lighting. You have to have insulation. Well, those are jobs that are real and tangible, that must be done physically on site. You can't offshore those jobs. You can't outsource those jobs.
Rising Sun is an Oakland-based organization that trains disadvantaged individuals for green jobs.
I actually thought I was interviewing for like an actual job when I came in. I didn't realize it was going to be like a paid apprenticeship, internship kind of thing. And I like working with my hands a lot. So I thought this was just going to be another opportunity to do more of that. And it turned out to be so much more.
If all goes to plan, California will be completely off of fossil fuels in about 25 years. But how will that work? We went to the home of Mark Jacobson, a Stanford University professor who has spent his career figuring out how to get there.
It has solar on the roof, it has batteries in the garage, it's all electric, there's no gas on the property. So electric cars, electric heating for air and water, and electric air conditioning.
A lot of people probably might think, wow, this looks really expensive, but could you talk just maybe a little bit about the cost element?
Yeah, well, the cost of the home is actually the cost of a normal home.
Jacobson not only created a blueprint for a green home where all the electricity is generated by solar power, he is known for creating blueprints for the whole country to go 100% renewable.
So we have developed plans for each of the 50 United States, and each state would have a different mix of renewables. And these states would be interconnected, so they wouldn't rely on only their own power if there's a shortage of wind or solar in one state.
Okay, I know what you're thinking.
State.
Jacobson's plan would obviously cost a lot of money to implement, about $9.5 trillion, he says. The main criticism of the Green New Deal is basically, who's paying for this? How can we cut our carbon emissions without bankrupting the country? But Jacobson says, we're already paying for climate and air pollution, and changing our energy system would cost just a fraction of those costs.
This is a political issue. And this is why leadership is required in Washington, D.C. And that's why the state of California is not waiting for Washington, D.C.
It's likely that it will be states that lead with investments to both combat the impact of climate change and slow it down.